Okay, welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. Today is episode 112, I think. We're going to continue from where we left off over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago to be exact. Let's see, let me introduce myself. I have notes. Anyone who's ever followed the podcast or me online, I do a lot of stuff off the cuff and I will continue to do so, but I wanted to have a little order. I wanted to have some kind of a topic based episodes to help you if you're someone struggling with dog training. I'm going to get the levels dialed in. I'm still figuring out the equipment, so please bear with me. What will help me is to give me feedback, positive or constructive. And if you don't like it, just don't listen. If you do, rate, review, share, subscribe, listen to old episodes. I tell people what has worked in the real world is all that I'm reciting in these podcasts. So my name is Brett Endies. I am a professional dog trainer my entire life. I am based out of Los Angeles. I also have a location in Alaska that I am not spending as much time in as I had in the past couple of years, but I am, full swing here in LA. So if you are someone, of course, who needs training, and also I do Zoom and telephone consultations. So I pretty much can help you as long as we speak the same language. I can coach you if you have any dog problems or you just need help with your new puppy or you want to teach your dog to listen better in the real world. Okay, so with all that said, we're going to talk about separation anxiety today. And I have a little bit of a list here. We're going to get right into it. I'm going to keep this short because I still don't know about the levels. I'm here as we speak, have like a shaking table. As you can see, I'm in my bedroom, right? We're just going to start grassroots again. I got this $99 Temu setup. It seems to be working for what it is. I just think I have to have my mouth like basically kissing the microphone. Okay. Mwah. So separation anxiety. I'm talking about here, let me talk a little about what's going on too. It's in my notes to do that. So I'm going to, give you that. So, I'm back here in Los Angeles almost 2 months now. I'm enjoying it. I'm trying to stay busy, being a little more social. I myself being in Alaska, I love it there. Like I said, I still have a place there. I have a remote cabin in the wilderness that I try to spend time at, but it gets lonely and the dark and cold is not for me 24/7. I'll go there to have fun, go ride the snow machines, all that stuff, but for the most part, I want to be here where it's not only is it a little nicer weather, I'm busier, I can make more money here in California, and I at 50 years old have to kind of have this final push the next 5 or 10 years of my career for all types of reasons, and I also have things I want to share as terms of my knowledge of dog training and behavior, and that's why I'm doing things like this podcast. And the other reason is that my family's here, and I'm a single man. There's a lot more to do and a lot more single women here in Southern California. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, so that's what's been going on. Okay, so separation anxiety. I'm going to go down the list here. A couple nights ago, I was making these notes. So I'm just going to kind of elaborate on each little bullet point that I've created. God, I got to stop. If this table, gosh, okay, if this table shaking is annoying, I'm going to play it back and see, but I got to stabilize this table a little better here. Okay, so what causes it? It can come from a couple different places. In most instances, it's not coming from where you think it is. Where do most people think that separation anxiety comes from? It's a dog that misses their owner or needs to get used to being alone for longer stretches of time. And that is a little bit of that, especially with a young puppy when it's not really a developed issue. They just might have that detachment from their litter mates or their mother or their handler, the breeder, anyone that was around them on a regular basis, feeding them, caring for them, and being able to kind of cope on their own. It's a slow segue. And if you address it properly, you could within a couple weeks get through it. I know my dogs who's sitting on my Rottweiler, he had that. And I just made sure that I worked through it. And then here's the key: as I backed it up, which is just crate training, teaching a dog to be alone for, periods of time just to acclimate to that separation. But the other part of it, and this is what I want to lead into, and this is what most of today's podcast is going to talk about. It's dogs that are just too vigilant when they're not told to stay put on their own and separate from you. So what does that mean? That means they're following you everywhere, and not just in a casual way. Of course, dogs prefer to be with their owners, but in an impulsive way where, I say, like, you get up off the couch to go to the restroom, the dog has to follow you right to the door, at your feet on the toilet. or your dog is just like always anticipating and seems to like sense things that like haven't even happened yet, or oh wow, my dog's just reacting to things they hear out in the distance, or every time someone enters a room they have to wake up from sleeping and react. And then when I put them in the crate, they only do good in the crate when when I'm in the same room or they're sleeping. But when people are trying to leave the room and move around, they won't want to do their settle into the crate. And that's where we have to introduce some place training, right? We have to complement things like crate training, where a dog does learn how to be on their own and ideally self-soothe. And some dogs, that's all they really need, and a little bit of structure when they're out of the crate. Make sure they don't, pee or poop all over the house, and you got a pretty good, at least home-trained dog. The dogs I see as a dog trainer, they're more vigilant, they're more hyper alert to everything, they're more ready to go, they're more quick to startle. It's the overreaction of movement. It's not like they're choosing, oh, I miss my owner, I want to follow him to the bathroom. It's like, no, something's moving, I got to herd it, and nobody's redirecting me and teaching me not to get overstimulated by this movement and physically react to it. So that must be the norm. So I'm waiting for the next shoe to fall. What's next? What's next? What's next? I always do that in front of my clients to demonstrate this mindset that has to be more of a kind of, if you want to call it a mindfulness, a kind of being present, a calmness, a checking out, shutting down mode for him. Not psychologically shutting down, like literally just taking a break from life, relaxing, going into a Zen state, taking a nap, self-occupying with a chew toy, not waiting for the next shoe to fall all the time, because that's what these dogs become, either their breed, their personality, and then they just become, this is their lifestyle into adulthood. And now they have a hard time seeing the difference, which is in the object permanence of clients leaving even the same room they're in and returning, right? Because they feel that if I keep following you and anticipating it and reacting to it, it works, and I get a great life provided for. Why not just, beat the middleman versus relaxing and chilling out? And that's the thing, is once you show a dog that option is there through place training complemented with crate training exercises, it's like little switch flips right away, and they start accepting it, especially with a puppy. Okay, so we're going to talk also about resistance and all that. I got a lot to cover for you guys, but to understand where this comes from and not have this overly emotional or this overly human, if you will, interpretation that the dog just misses me or the dog just needs to get used to being alone. And even if we want to just think about things in a practical sense, who's going to be able to quit their job and take 15-minute increments to get their dog used to being alone? It's just not practical, and it's not the reality of actually what's happening, especially when you have an adult dog where this is now an existing behavior problem. But with puppies a little bit, but still you go hour by hour, not 15 minutes, and you start getting them used to being in another room, sleeping in the crate, structure, being on the leash. I'm going to talk about this as well, but understand most dogs develop separation anxiety because they're following and hinging on every move the owners make and how they're getting their needs met, both related to their everyday things and the owner's unrelated life going on separate from them, instead of relaxing and waiting patiently for like the direction of how to come and go and what happens. As long as your dog is getting enough exercise and walks, and that's something that sometimes people are just not putting the time into doing, your dog should be expected to go relax, go lay off to the side, go sleep in their crate, sleep in their place. That's an art, the art of doing nothing. It's like a Zen state you have to create in these dogs. Again, in between the active times where it's the right hyper-vigilance at the right times. That's where we're going to talk about the outlets. Okay, so understand it. If you don't understand the root cause, all this consistency and things I'm going to tell you to do is not going to really register. You're going to think like a human. You think your poor dog misses you. And you're going to think that, it's just a matter of like, my dog, this is how they are, or I'm just going to have to get my dog used to being alone, and we'll do the crate, but we won't shut the door, all these bargaining things, whatever. Anyway. Okay, gosh, I'm a little anxious here. I hope this is recording okay, because I'm bouncing and bumping. My hat's hitting this mic thing. I'll get it, guys. Just bear with me. It's the content. It's what I'm teaching you here. That's what matters, and maybe a little bit of my handsome face and personality. Okay, so what do we do to offset all this, right? I get it, Brett. My dog shouldn't be following me on the go and 10 steps ahead all the time. They should be calm, mindful, not anticipating, waiting for me to direct them, and in a calm state in between. How do we achieve that? Place training, structured movement throughout the house, structured direction and training exercises during new events or during resource obtainment, like food, or, you're petting another dog and your dog wants to charge in for their attention because they got to compete, or your dog has to rush to the door when they hear the bell ring. Having your dog in their place, having your dog heel at your side and looking at you intermittently while you move forward towards the end goal location, which your dog's going to get there, but it's more in a mindset. And this is the two-part thing. You're creating a calmer response and a replacement behavior to recondition just these overstimulated, overreactive responses where they're just physically, their nervous system is spiking, and you're creating leadership. Somebody who leads their dog and gets them to check in and wants to be first in a very straightforward, specific way. I'm doing this, you're doing that, and I'm backing it up with my corrections, my rewards, the implementation of this in a general way, not just when there's someone at the door. That's another thing. We can't just do training when the chips are down. I've heard that saying years ago, and it stuck with me. You have to train a dog all the time when there's any new event, at least for the first few weeks to a month. And that's where we have to, okay. And again, getting back to separation anxiety, it's just them feeling you're leading them through all events. Or, hey, don't rush to the door. Stay in your place. We've worked on this. The new person will come say hi to you when you're calm, not when you're getting reactive. And to them, it's not just them being cute and overexcited to see someone. They're trying to rush and be first, and they're going to try to rush and be first again and again at other intervals throughout the day that you're sharing with them. And again, all of that creates separation anxiety if they can't react to that because you're nowhere to manifest that through, or whatever. You understand? It has to be, again, the opposite. Your dog is calm, getting through, being an island in the storm. Even when people are moving about, doing their routines, the dog should just be in a centrally located place, or even tethered when you can't. I know you can't do training as much as your dog might need it. You got to tether him. You got to put the crate and shuttle it around the house from place to place. At least when you're home, we'll talk about what to do when the dogs are alone in the crate. Don't worry. Don't, we're getting there. But it is really just having your dog not anticipate and overreact. Place training. If you build that focus building, your dog will learn how to be calmer as an association when they're in the place. And if you teach a heel version, they will learn to be calm while walking at your side to get. That's why the place can have multiple locations. I've used this description before many times, probably daily with clients. A child goes to school. They don't just arrive at just any random time and then just start running about and following any random teacher or person that moves about. There's a schedule. There's an arrival time. There's a scheduled time to go to that classroom. There's an assigned seat in the classroom. There's a subject to focus on. There's a time when that class and subject are finished. There's a recess time. There's meal time scheduled. There's an implied set of rules. There's a hierarchy. This is all you're trying to do. And no one's beating anyone. No one's trying to punish anyone. Maybe when I went to school, there's probably a little bit less leniency, but still there was a respect for someone who was a little bit better at guiding and providing the environment for us to thrive, which is, again, you're feeding your dog, giving them a home, vet visits, everything is taken care of. They can do a little bit of a job. It's not mean to tell a dog to lay in their place, versus them going wild at every move you make and actually having to give a crap, no pun intended, or actually was, when you're going to the bathroom or something new's happening that really isn't their business, or they can take it with a buffer and be a little bit more calm and go with the flow about it. Okay, so place training. I have videos on this. I have so much, and I will do more podcasts, because place training is the foundation for like 99.9% of clients when I start working with them. Okay, I'm starting to sound like an NPR voice. I'm just feeling mellow today. Sometimes I get hyper, if you know me, so we'll just see how this podcast is pretty straightforward. Maybe having me have this is my place, is having this direction instead of my brain. That's why I get your dogs. I am ADHD. I'm on the spectrum. I'm all wired like that. I get overstimulated. This one podcast took me almost a week to sit down and do. And what is it going to be? Half hour? And with notes, I had the notes done. It was just sitting down and committing to it and getting the attention focused. I get it. This is like place training. Once I get in it, it's a good thing, and I'll gravitate towards it more. That's exactly what place training, except dogs don't even have inherent psychological issues. They're just dogs. We create that because they live with us and we project it on them. So don't. Okay, so we structure to offset the hypervigilance and the following, and just, again, leadership is like, hey, you want to eat, you want to treat, you want attention, you want to hang out with us in the room while we watch television or have guests over the house, go to your place, earn it. It's not mean. It makes them feel calm, and their attention's on a physical target with their mind and body connected through a command. It's all training should be. Let's see. Conditioning calm non-reactions to non-coming and going. I explained all this, right? Again, you have to anticipate. So if someone's on their way home, don't just, the bell's ringing and now your dog's at, let someone text you 5-10 minutes in advance. Have a family member tell you when, they're on their way home. Before you feed your dog, start the training. Don't start reacting when they're getting stimulated by you preparing the food. let them know you have a game plan before they show up to school, so the students can go right to their classroom with the set schedule and focus on their assignment in a calm, peaceful way. Okay, so we're going to talk about crates, introducing the crates. And then we're going to talk about it for puppies where it is a little bit more sink or swim, not too long a period, but you got to start potty training right away, right? So even for that, we don't want to ease into it. If you have a dog that has very severe separation anxiety, a crate right away is going to really spike things. So if you haven't started, get a crate, start with place training, get your dog used to being stuck, if you will, in one spot, work it through. It's going to take a lot of practice, starting close, building the 3Ds, duration, how long they stay on their place, distance, how far they are when they stay in the place. That's a separation. And distractions, what goes on when they're staying on their place. And in this case, if you have a separation anxiety dog, it is your movement, other people's movement, and life going on around them in the home environment is the distraction end of it. 3Ds. So crates. First of all, I recommend, even for non-separation anxiety cases, a more solid enclosed type crates. Some trainers will argue with me about this, and that's fine. We do whatever works for you. But what I find works best for me and my clients historically over many years doing this is more the hard-sided enclosed. Something basic like a Vera kennel, a plastic type. You can go up into the rough land, up into the gunner, to the impact, the metal type hard solid, depending on your long-term goals for your dog's level of anxiety, their power level. I myself, I invested in a Dakota 283. It's a hard-sided plastic crate, pretty sturdy. They're expensive though. I got mine used. It was limited. It wasn't really. It was like brand new basically, and I just power washed it and disinfected it. Some people would rather buy new. I invested because I know this is going to be his crate for the rest of his life. I bought it as bigger than when he was little. We started with small little plastic kennels and graduated to it. So yeah, it's up to you, but I do not recommend the wire crates for my clients, both for anxiety, settling in the crate, seeing it as their little den, their sensory deprived space, and then of course potty training. A lot of puppies, they will think it's okay to go to the bathroom or try to escape a more open air type of crate. Again, I'm just going to always clarify so they don't think it's not opinion. It's getting a lot of feedback and a lot of trial and error with a lot of clients over a lot of years. Okay, so great. So that's the style. Again, whatever your budget, what's in your budget, that's, but invest. It's so, it really is. I think a crate is one of the most important things. It is your dog's little condo, right? I live in this apartment complex. I have my little condo space here, but there's the main complex that it's part of, and I can kind of utilize part of the gym, the swimming pool, whatever, but this is my space that I kind of feel kind of contained to here. I don't have to worry about what's going on out there. That's someone else. And that's how your dog should feel when they're in their crate or even in their place. The place makes the room or your house feel like a crate, and the crate makes the crate feel like a crate. I know I do that a lot, but it's so common sense. It's just sometimes there is a lot of stress and emotional blindness or the voice in our head telling us otherwise. Even me, I'm a human. I get it with my dogs. I have the emotional drive to act and do certain things, but the business at hand comes first. If you have a new dog or a dog with issues, that has to be on the back burner and done with for at least the time being till you can get your dog on track with good life skills or resolve the issue they're struggling with. Excuse me. So yeah, get a good crate. Now, getting used to the crate, even with a puppy, you want to give them a crate command, throw treats in it, lure a toy in there, tell them, crate, kennel, bed. It doesn't matter. Just keep it simple. Generally, one syllable is good. Let them go in and out of it just to get used to putting, their own time into it. At some point, you're going to have to close the door. And there is going to be, for some dogs, a little bit of that fight, no matter how much time you do to get them used to it and sleep in it with the door open. There is sometimes you close the door and let them just fuss. No dog I've never seen, let me word this right. This is sensitive stuff for people. I know. I talk to a lot of clients about this, and I know what you guys go through. I'm sorry I have to go through it, but let me make sure I don't exacerbate the stress related to this and the anxiety. Oh gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. Basically, I've never seen one dog in many, many years, and thousands upon thousands of dogs going through separation anxiety and using kennels and crates in most cases, and getting dogs to be dealing with things that they are stressed out about dealing with initially. I've never once seen the dog long-term worse off, having any kind of physical, mental, psychological damage. They didn't hate their owners. We just actually worked through the problems. There's this one gentleman who, I forgot who it was, but I follow him on Instagram. I share a lot of his stuff. He's like an older New York guy. And, said, what's the solution for the dog not liking the crate and fussing and whining and more crate time? In a way, that's true. And just like I said earlier, if you're giving your dog the right outlets and you're spending time, with all their exercise needs and walks and taking them out of the crate and doing the active training so you're engaging them and you're not just, using it for your own convenience and cheating. And that goes for tethering too. Tethering is a great tool. You tether your dog so they stay in their place to back up the active training where the dog sees you're willing to bring them back to their spot after following you to the next room. It could be a dozen times at first, but if you're consistent, it will work through to the point where it's not required, and it does help rehabilitate your dog from having separation anxiety or prevent your puppy from developing it. Don't let your puppy follow you all over the house and zip all over the place. It's not cute, and it actually is going to cause a lot of issues down the road. That's why people call me, because they let that happen. I'm not telling you because of hearsay, folks. So, okay, crate. I hope that, and you're going to just build time in the crate. Again, it's not so much time apart, but just time for a puppy, every couple hours for relieving itself for potty time or when you can't watch it. And then it's going to be with your dog that has separation anxiety, seeing that your dog is getting used to being in the crate if they just hate it in general when you're in the same room for a couple hours. Sleeping is usually the first long 6 to 8 hour stretch you can get them, because they'll be in the same room or even in another room. I've heard from clients that dogs will accept being in the crate, overnight. And then leaving, you got to just start putting them in the crate for a couple hours when you are home in another room. You have to start leaving, going on short errands or out to have a meal. These all have to start happening pretty quickly after a couple weeks of introducing the structure. Now, if you haven't done place training, your dog's following you, running up to you, and over anticipating everything, it doesn't matter what you do with the crate training. Your dog's going to freak out no matter how much conditioning and feeding in the crate and sleeping in the crate and making it a positive space and coming in and out as they want. That's just the intro stuff. And even then, usually, especially for puppies, you just make them kind of sink or swim, within reason. Within reason. Sensitive, I know. So that's really, some people, that's a big fear. And again, this all comes from going through this with many people, and also so many people, it's stressful for them. I have a few active clients as we're speaking. You know who you are, and I love you, but it's tough for you guys, who are contacting me with a lot of stress. And that's my thing. They think, oh, you're so expensive. You getting a lot. I'm there for you. It's not that you're just paying for, but people start realizing like, oh, this guy is really covering everything, because I have to cover that. If I don't address the emotional end of the leash that humans have, and sometimes what we're seeing is not always what's there or what's going to help the issue, and how our interpretation can drive us to address it as humans. I got to be there for you. And again, I'm happy. It makes me feel good. I feel like I have purpose. Trust me. I don't feel like I matter to many people other than my clients and the doggies. And if I can be of service to you and I do a good job, oh, you're making me so happy. So don't ever feel, if you're listening to your client, you're not putting me out. All I expect for you is to do the work so you are giving your dog what they need, despite what sometimes is hard with you emotionally and just logistically and time-wise and all that stuff. I get it. But do it for your dog, not for me at all. But I'm here to help. Okay, what am I doing? I'm putting in my notes. We got more. This is probably one of the longest single person podcasts I've done. I've done a lot by myself, but I keep them to like 10, 20 minutes because I think this note thing helped. It's just, I hope the sound's okay. I think what happens is it fades in and out is what's going to happen, guys. So just, I'm sorry. We're going to work on it. I'm going to keep improving. I promise. So introducing the crate, building the time apart, feeding the dog, all these pies. I can't say things enough. Clients say, boy, you say things a dozen times. Yes. I'll say it 24 times until you're implementing it. It's in your head like a mantra. That's what I have to do. It's common sense, like I said, but it's also a lot of reiteration of interpreting something a little different than how we would normally interpret. I keep sitting back. That's where I think you lose my voice. Okay. Yeah, and I said the place makes the room a house, so the crate becomes, okay, now troubleshooting. Let's go through this. So, talked a little bit about the dog's going to fuss. The dogs might have, dogs might even try to chew. That's why you want a sturdy crate. I have a client right now who started with a plastic crate, and I hate to talk, it's going to be like $1,000, but they have to buy an impact crate, a hard-sided aluminum weld crate that's going to be, made. It's an anxiety crate. It's made for dogs it's a powerful dog that's just and was doing well. But once the dog knows they can escape, it's going to be a lot harder for them in that crate to give it up. And you can put deterrents. You can put like a bitter apple spray or something, or also put something in front of the crate so their vision is blocked. Let's make sure there's airflow. Also location. You don't want a crate. I'm going to jump around a little bit here. The crate, when you leave them alone completely, you don't want the crate like in the main room looking at the front door, main windows. It should be like in a more sensory deprived, like back bedroom, office, basement space where they're kind of darker. You can play soft music, all that. But again, like the crate can move around, so the dog can be in the crate. You're just going to be next to me for an hour or two. You're going to eat in your crate in the room that you normally eat, but it's going to be the crate this time once in a while. So sometimes people like to get a couple crates, or they just, if it's just not feasible, they just shuttle the crate. I have like a small apartment, so I would just if I was doing it with my dogs, I would just move the crate from like one bedroom to the main room, and then just put it in the corner of the bedroom when I'd leave, and close the blinds and the lights and all that. But yeah, some dogs really freak out. You can do, and there's a lot of trainers that have all types of tips and tricks. You can, ignore the dog within reason if it's really, and there's a context. If it's a puppy who's just got to go to the bathroom and they have no control because they're not developed in their abilities, you might have to accommodate it once in a while. But, if it's a puppy that's just fussy, you might just ignore them and they self-soothe in 10 minutes. And then they learn that when they're quiet, you come back, and that's when you could even come back and reward them or let them out, or give them a playtime afterwards, some kind of reward associated with not overreacting to the crate. So, the whole idea is, making the crate obviously a positive association, but sometimes they have to create circumstances that seem kind of negative to learn that it isn't going to be the worst outcome for them to acclimate to it. And then they learn that when they do, actually good positive things happen. And then as a dog, their natural instincts to den and be calm in an enclosed space are going to kick in. And again, I said this at the beginning of this podcast, the only way that'll all take with certain very hyper-vigilant dogs is creating structure when they're out of the crate and leading them, around the house more with the leash and with commands, and staying put via place training, tethering, and then crate throughout the day as well. The other part of this is the in and out of the crate. Again, I'm jumping around a bit, just little kind of pointers that are they're not on my little list here. I'm done with my list. Now we're going to just go off the dome, as they say. Just getting your dog to do threshold training, which is a dog pausing and usually sitting and waiting for a release or another command to move through whether it be a doorway, a stairway, crate opening, curbs out in the street. It's good for your dog to pause at these times, and it does, I find, help that when you lead a dog, even if you make them sit before you put them in the crate, create a little bit more calm neutrality and focus on your direction when you're doing these transitions. And what is a transition? It's just when you're just moving your dog in and out of something, to and from something. New events happen for them or unrelated to them in their presence, usually in the home that we create. So don't let your dog get too caught up in transitions, because that's where separation anxiety comes from. Okay, I will leave it at that. I hope this recorded right. I hope the sound was good. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this made sense. I try to articulate what I say to my clients, that when applied, it works for them. So I've had people say that people say that when they apply this stuff, and they've done things like, I used to host a show called The Untrainables. If they've, there's little tips and techniques that I've shared. I even do Zoom training with people, I said, right? So all of this stuff, it doesn't have to be the trainers handling your dogs. It's a concept, not a philosophy. Philosophy is like this is just the reality of how I can explain what's going on from dogs, how conditioning and instinct works. It's not my new take on it. Dogs have been around a lot longer than me. Be careful of trainers that do it that way, and how to teach it and explain and demonstrate how a client should apply it based on similar situations I've taken clients through that process, through as well. Okay, that is the end. Thank you. Don't forget to share, rate, review, subscribe. Give me your feedback. Have a great day.